Okay, great. So now let's move on to the next tab in the Shopify left side panel, which is the Marketing tab. And so, as you can probably tell by the name, the Marketing tab deals with creating ads for your Shopify web store. This can be promoting a certain product, a list of products, a collection of products, or just your store in general. Now, when we go to this marketing tab here, we're taking to the general overview here. And so what we can see here is that we have the ability to start either by creating a campaign or launching a multi-channel one-click campaign. So in case you're wondering what this is, it's basically a campaign is basically an ad, right? So that's just what a campaign is, an ad campaign. And you can have more than one ad campaign running at the same time. Again, this depends on your marketing budget. And with ads on Shopify, you can do a lot, right? You can grow your audience, promote your sales and start building, conversions. So building a customer base. You can also, of course, just promote your brand in general and get people to be aware about your entire online business. So if we click View Campaign Templates here, we will be able to see a variety of different campaign templates across a variety of different platforms and social media platforms that allow ads such as Facebook, Snapchat, and Pinterest. So again, you have the ability to choose on what platforms you want your ads to appear. When you make ads on Shopify marketing, you're not making those ads to appear on other Shopify web stores. You're making them to appear on platforms like Facebook, Pinterest, and Snapchat. So again, we have a variety here of goals. These are campaign templates that have been pre-made by Shopify to get you launching an ad as soon as possible with an intended goal. As you can see here, we have 4 different goals. We can either create an ad to grow our audience and brand awareness, create an ad to promote a sale or special event, create an ad to showcase a new collection of products, or just create our very own ad campaign with our very own custom, options and goals. So again, as you can see here, underneath each goal, you have a little bit of a short description telling you, a little bit more information about what each template is intended to offer. So this is where you begin to brainstorm, what do I want for my ad campaigns? Do I want to build my brand awareness, or do I want to improve my number of sales? This is completely depending on you, right? So again, this is something to think about before you even start launching your ads. What are your intentions? What do you plan on doing and promoting specifically? It's also important to think about this first because most people tend to have, a limited budget for their marketing campaigns. So you obviously don't want to waste money by creating an ad and setting up an ad that isn't going to give you good results, right? Or not the results that you wanted or expected. So make sure that when you are about to launch ads, you think about what the purpose is. Again, do you want to grow your audience and brand awareness, or do you want to promote products or showcase new collections, right? Or maybe you have your own, goals that aren't here, and so you can choose the fourth option, which lets you customize your campaign. So let's just click, for the first one, customize campaign, so you can take a look at it here. As you can see here, we have 3 different avenues or platforms rather for this intended ad template, which was to grow our audience and brand awareness. We have Pinterest, Snapchat, and Facebook. So the great thing is here that these are pre-made templates. So all you have to do is add, your products or your, price points, and then add your images and then just your link to the product or the business. And then boom, you just launch the ad. Simple as that. It's not a complicated process. And when you do this on your own time in Shopify, you will be guided how to do that, right? And so obviously, if we scroll down here, we can have a variety of different ads and previews on different social media sites. We have Pinterest here. This is what a Pinterest ad looks like. A Snapchat ad, this is what it will look like on Snapchat. If we keep scrolling down, this is what it would look like on Facebook, and so much more, right? So all you would do is just add in, again, your images, your links, and, whatever you want your ad to say. And so therefore, when we add an activity or edit an activity, we're basically just creating a brand new ad within this ad campaign. So again, something I should mention, and this is something that we will talk about later. Before you can create these ads on Shopify, you must have the app installed on your Shopify web store for these social media platforms. So for example, here I clicked Pinterest, but we didn't install the Pinterest app for Shopify to connect our Pinterest account to our Shopify web store. All of this has to be done first. So just be aware that this is for everything as well, for Facebook and the other social media platforms as well. So just be aware of that. Make sure you already have accounts on those websites and that you install the apps to your Shopify store. Apps is not something that we have gotten to yet, but don't worry because we will later on in this course. So let's go back. Okay, again, now since we talked about the actual ads, what will happen is here is that when you launch your campaign, you will see here the results, right? You'll see the sessions as in the number of people that actually visited your site from these ads, the number of orders that were attained from these ads, the number of the sales, right? The actual amount in terms of dollars and currency, and then the actual cost of this marketing campaign. You always want to make sure that you have a good ROI, which is a return on investment. If you don't know what ROI stands for, you have to make sure that your ads have a good ROI. So basically, make sure that your ads are causing there to be more sales or more conversions than you are spending on ads, or else you're kind of burning money away or throwing money away on ads, right? For the most part, at least. So make sure that your ads are effective by constantly checking the cost compared to how many sales you're actually getting for this ad. And sometimes you need to experiment, right? It can take about a week or 2 weeks to see, the results come in from each ad. So give it some time. But if you notice that, weeks have passed and these ads are being ineffective or they're not really attaining a lot of conversions or garnering you a lot of sales, then this ad is probably not good and you should just stop it and move on to a different, template or campaign. So again, make sure that, for your marketing budget, you are aware of the cost because these ads can get very costly. So make sure that you're on top of their cost. We can also, of course, rename the campaign. Of course, this was named for us already. We don't need to do that. We have more actions here. We can archive the campaign. This is if we want to store the campaign. So then let's say in the future, I want to return to this campaign and renew it or review the settings. I can do that. I can also delete the campaign. Adding an activity, what this does is that it will actually create a new ad for this ad campaign. Do I want to create a Shopify email ad? Do I want to create a new Facebook ad? A Microsoft Smart Shopping ad, a Pinterest ad, a Snapchat ad, Yahoo ad, etc. Right? So that's just what an activity is. And so it is just an ad within an ad campaign. The ad campaign is the actual, umbrella. And then underneath that, we have the actual ads themselves on a variety of different platforms or on just one specific social media platform. Okay, so let's go ahead and click cancel and go back. So that was for our overview. That was for our campaign template for growing our audience and brand awareness. What we just saw there with the activities will be the same for promoting our sale or special event campaign or for showcasing new products and collections campaign, right? And as you can see, as we just talked about, the Grow Your Audience and Brand Awareness had ads specifically for Facebook, Snapchat, and Pinterest, which is why the logos of these platforms are showing up here. Whereas for these other two goals, they are more so intended for email and Facebook. And again, here for Facebook and for email, as opposed to the first goal, which is including Snapchat and Pinterest. So that's just why we have those icons there at the top. And if we customize the campaign, again, it'll just take us to the similar, view where we were at earlier in terms of this, in which we can add or edit the ads and, change when they will appear, and what the ads will say and so forth. So this is all completely, up to you. Up to you, of course. Okay, so the last thing that I'll talk about in this specific window is creating our own campaign. So let's click Customize Campaign. So again, we have this window that pops up that we saw earlier. If we want to create our very own custom campaign with no pre-made goal or template, we have the ability to choose from any of these, right? Pinterest, Snapchat, Yahoo, Microsoft, etc. And then let's say I want to create, a Facebook audience building ad. These are great because even if you decide to create your very own custom campaign in Shopify, they still have pre-selected ad goals within the create campaign window, as we can see here. And they even have little descriptions telling you what each ad is intended to do. So for the Facebook audience building ad, it is meant to not really give you sales, but more so reach people that might be interested in businesses or products like yours, right? And so this builds brand awareness and this builds an audience, not so much sales. And this is something to talk about in case you're not really familiar with, marketing and advertisement. This is a good little lesson here for you to know. A good tip is to create effective ads, you want to first make sure that you go ahead and create brand awareness and audience building ads, and then you retarget those same people that were exposed to your first ad with a second ad through a retargeting ad. And so a retargeting ad is basically an ad that shows the same people that saw your ad again. So this kind of creates an imprint, stored in their minds so they can become more familiar with who you are based on exposure. Because a bunch of studies have shown that, it's very rare for customers to, buy from a business that they don't know at first glance. They need to be exposed multiple times to the product or the business so they can build brand recognition and begin to build trust and eventually become a customer themselves of that brand or business. So that's why it's important to retarget the people that present yourself to the first time through audience building ads. So that's just a little marketing lesson right there for advertisements. But again, if you also have, a Facebook page, you can promote a post, which is probably, usually a sale or just, a specific collection of products that you're highlighting. And of course, you're not just limited to Facebook. Again, you can advertise on Pinterest. If you have a Pinterest account, it's great for businesses because if you're a very visual business, you can definitely show off, your media and products through Pinterest and also promote them as well there. Snapchat, you can create ads on Snapchat. A lot of people still use this app and it's great because you can have, links there. So all the person has to do is swipe up on their phone and they land on your business. So just be aware you have a lot of these different options. Okay, and then after that, we have campaigns as the second sub tab under the marketing tab. And again, this is just kind of a rehash of what we just talked about. This is just another, view of what we just saw in overview. Again, here you'll have your list of your ad campaigns. Right now, these are all in draft mode, so they aren't live. When they are live, these will be green, these bubbles. And you will begin to see the cost as the days go by of each ad and how much sales or sessions really these ads have garnered for you. So you again want to make sure that the cost is worth it if it's garnering you some results, right? The ads are not worth it if they are not getting you good results. So you want to make sure of that. And of course, you can always, if you have a lot of ad campaigns, you can search by the name, the date they were created, and sort them out also by alphabetical order. So this is useful if you have a bunch of ads and don't want to sift through one by one if you're looking for something specifically. And again, these three dots here, you can also do some other things like view the campaign in detail, add another ad or activity for this ad campaign, archive it, which we talked about earlier, or delete it. So remember, a campaign is just an ad set and it is an ad goal. All right, and then lastly, let's talk about automations here. So what is a marketing automation? So again, this is something that is very recommended for businesses, and a lot of businesses are doing it these days. And let's say, you're a small business and don't really have the capacity to be able to respond to customers in real time as they have inquiries and messages. And so, you don't have workers working a 9 to 5 weekdays and weekends to, pick up customer phone calls or answer to customer emails, right? So that's when you can create an automation, right? An automation is a great, you know, um, auto-generated response to a customer's behavior, right? So like, let's say a customer has, a question, you can auto-generate an automated bot to respond to their inquiry automatically, right? So you probably have sometimes seen this when you are like, trying to get tech support through chat on other stores or businesses online. You notice how they have like the chat bots with the automatic responses. That is what is called an automated bot. Now, marketing automations are a little bit different. What marketing automations intend for is to generate and boost your sales. So these are bots that are intended to generate and boost your store's sales. So again, based on, what the customer did in terms of their behavior on your store, depends on what you can automate to boost, a sale or garner an order that may have been lost without an automated marketing device. So let's start off with this first example here, post-purchase offer. Let's say a customer, purchased something from your store and you want to entice them to buy something again. You can give them like a 15% off your second order type of, code through an email to help motivate them to purchase from your store again. So that is called a post-purchase offer. So you can send this discount to them after they complete a purchase, so then they are motivated to buy again. That would be an automated thing for that customer based on their behavior, which was, of course, buying something in the first place. Or we can send tailored messages to customers with tags. So again, if we have a certain group of customers that we want to target, right? Let's say these are customers that have been very loyal, right, and have completed a lot of purchases with us and have bought from us many times. Let's say I want to create a loyalty program specifically for them. I can send tailored messages specifically to that group of customers which have a certain associated tag, let's say in this case loyalty, to them, and target them specifically from my list of customers to be invited to, let's say, be a part of my online store's loyalty points program, right? So that is a way that you can create an automated thing without having to, sift through each customer one by one to get that. Or we can recover sales and retain customers using SMS. So text messaging, right? Let's say I have customers that, were going to purchase something or purchased something in the past, right? But in this case, let's talk about customers that abandoned their cart, right? And let's say we have that customer's, phone number, right? And I want to send text to that customer to tell them like, hey, you forgot this at checkout. Make sure you don't forget to purchase this. Or I can even be like, hey, if you go and purchase this right now that you left at checkout on our store, we will give you 15% off immediately, but just for today. Let's say I send them a text saying that. Then that customer has not only a reminder that, oh, right, I have to go check out, but now they have another motivation too. They're getting a discount. So that is another automated tool here that we can use with Shopify. And lastly, we can also capture lost sales with abandoned cart emails. So this is basically the same thing as the one that I just talked about before, except instead of texts, it would be through emails, right? I can email customers that left things at checkout so then they can come back and complete their purchase. So this is how to recuperate sales that would have been lost without marketing automations. So now you have all of these tools available to use in Shopify that you can use to boost your sales. So again, if you would want to create one for any of these purposes, you would just click the create buttons here. Though I should remind you again, some of these like SMS Bump and Seguno use and require, third-party apps, which we will talk about again later in this course, not to worry. And again below, We can see the results that are coming from our marketing automations, right? How many orders are our marketing automations getting us? What are the number of sales, the quantity? How much is it costing us to, get these orders back to us? Because again, some of these third-party apps that you need to get these type of automations enabled on your store, some of them do require payment, to pay either a one-time fee or a monthly fee subscription. So it just depends, right? But a lot of them are also free of charge. So again, when we talk about apps, we'll get into further detail about that. But anyway, this has been the marketing tab in Shopify.